Good afternoon, Pokemon fans and trainers out there. Welcome back to our Malmo Regional Championships. My name is Benjamin. I'm joined here by my lovable co-host, Amy Wosley. Amy, we're heading into top 8. It's crunch time. It's do or die for most of these players here. Well, for all of our players, actually. How are you feeling? You pumped?
Absolutely so ecstatic. We've got some fantastic players, a really stacked top 8, and I'm really thrilled for all of them to be here and be fighting for our last regional of the season.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, for some of these players, you know, like we said before, it's World Championships in Vise, top 22 in Europe, all on the line. And let's look at our bracket here for this top 8. Some massive, massive talent on show here. Some of the players that we've, you know, already featured. Brennan, Piotr, they've all made it.
They have, and it's so good to see them here. They've worked so hard, and we've seen some of their prowess on stream this weekend already, and I'm sure this isn't the end. We're going to be featuring quite a few of these lovelies as we go along today. I wonder how this lovely little flowchart's going to pan out.
Yeah, I know, and the meta is so varied. A lot of decks here on show in the top 8, a lot of decks that are just being so well represented as we come into the end of this regionals. And, you know, what's going to come out on top? It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that there is a really good variety of decks that have come out of this as well. We know that God of War's had a really good showing here, as well as Mew. The Psychic types have definitely been on top, and we're going to be seeing, hopefully, some of those very soon.
Yeah, talk about God of War, talk about Mew. It's going to be our next feature match, and what a contest we have in store. I don't think we've actually featured Mew versus God of War yet, have we?
I don't think so, no. So we're going to have a little look at some of the players that we're going to see very soon.
Yeah, I know, and let's have a look at some of our top 8 contenders. We've got Brian De Vries, top cut player, bringing the God of War spice. And on the other side, we have Consta Kalama, bringing the Mew VMAX into top 8, and these two giants are going to go head to head in our top 8 match.
We're going to be seeing them very, very soon. We're really excited to see them again after we have got all set up. They look raring to go. They look a little like they've had a long day, actually.
Yeah, it's funny you say raring to go. Both of these players have a lot of stress on their shoulders.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think they look calm and reserved as they head into this top 8 match. They're probably going to be thinking, how am I going to face this deck in front of me? And here we see the prize cards of our first top 8 match.
We do, and nothing's looking too out of ordinary here. Very classic prize cards from both. We're not seeing anything too damning in there. We've got multiple Zacian being run by Brian here, so we don't need to worry about those. Mew and a Genesect, that's not too bad. We're going to be okay with that. The draw power's still there for Consta.
Yeah, nothing too damaging. A few consistency cards here or there, but nothing to stress about, I think, for these players. But here we see the start from Consta. Oh no, and it's a turn 1 for a Seal Stone, having to use that maybe to get set up.
Sometimes when you have to use that just to get set up, it can feel bad, but it's exactly why it's there. It's a lifeline.
Yeah, unfortunate for Consta having to use it instead of, say, for maybe those last few pieces towards your game plan like we saw earlier, maybe using it for a path to the pig, getting a judge, a just-in-case card, as I like to call it. But, you know, unfortunately, Consta's having to use it for maybe, most possibly, a battle VIP pass to try and help get him set up.
It's very likely, but first they're giving a good deck check. This is where it all matters. The pressure is on top 8. We absolutely can't be taking any chances. They're going to need to assess if there's anything crucial in those prize cards right now.
Yeah, sure, and you know, the best players do it. You know, they deck check thoroughly, and not most importantly, but they have their own deck checking strategies for each matchup. You know, say for the God of War matchup, there's specific cards that Consta will definitely be looking at his deck to see if it's available throughout the game. And here we see the Battle VIP pass.
Yeah, what do you think the plan here is for Consta in regards to Mew versus God of War?
Well, you know, the Judge Path strategy is so strong here. Shutting off that Psychic Embrace ability is going to be damaging for Brian for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just going to be the battle of the wits in that regard. And also just timing that path to the peak really well is going to be crucial too. We don't know how many outs Brian's going to have to it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And in some matchups where, say, Lugia, it's more effective in those earlier turns. It's more effective here in those later turns. You know, Brian still has to get set up, still has to put those psychic energy in the discard pile. So he does have a little bit of time to get towards that game plan. But here we see the other side of the door. It's on Brian's turn, and he starts strong with that Battle VIP pass.
He did indeed. We love a Battle VIP pass first turn. It makes a huge difference to getting set up, especially for a deck like Gardevoir, which relies on its consistent nature. But getting those basics is almost the most crucial part, right? Once you've got that baseline, you can build your fortress from there.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely love seeing these Gardevoir decks this weekend. So consistent, they just absolutely run through the deck. The refinement Kirlia, such an accessible and powerful ability in this Gardevoir deck. You know, getting those psychic energies from your hand, from your deck into the discard pile, and really pack a punch with those Pokemon like Zacian V with the Storm Slash, you know, and taking the game by storm. But let's see what Brian has cooking up for us here.
Yeah, Brian's going with the nice, slow and steady pace of Gardevoir that we've seen many a times on stream. Let's see if they pull anything unusual out of the bag on this one to see if they can overcome their opponent. Oh, a very early Professor's research there, but sometimes that's just the push you need to get the engine going, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're 100% right. And here we see, you know, Brian discarding the hand, drawing 7, such a powerful effect for that support at Professor's research. So popular within the meta, really gets your engine going. And here we see an Ultra Ball possibly for a Mew for that extra dig with that Mysterious Tail.
Yeah, Mysterious Tail's really useful in this matchup for multiple reasons. You're looking for, what, rare candies, you're wanting Battle VIP at the beginning, Ultra Balls. There are so many really amazing items that you can utilize in this matchup. So Mew's really quite fundamental, right?
Yeah, no, it's such a fantastic ability, especially in the earlier turns. Like you said, you know, Mysterious Tail is sometimes the first Pokemon that these Gardevoir decks get out for that extra dig. You know, finding that Battle VIP pass, finding that crystal, fog crystal, you know, it can be so crucial to find these pieces to get those rolls set up.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note here that Brian is playing the memory skip rolls as well, which we've seen in and out of lists kind of all weekend. But it's really crazy against something like Mew, right, to stop it from using its attacks.
Yeah, for sure. We can see if that's going to be an option for Brian to use. And here we see dropping down the Zacian V, getting down the Roar of the Sword. It's definitely going to be a useful attacker in this matchup just because of how powerful that Storm Slash can be in conjecture with that Psychic Embrace ability. And here we see the first judge of the game.
I'm sure there'll be many. I always get confused at locals when I'm wandering around judging and somebody goes, judge, and you wonder, are they talking to me or are they playing the card? And you have to loom over the game and just check.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen how impactful the judges have been this weekend in Malmo, and we'll see how effective this one can be from Consta. You know, pass to the peak, it can stop off Roar of the Sword, it can stop off the concealed cards on Brian's side, but of course it doesn't stop the Kirlia, it doesn't stop the main engine, so Brian's going to be hoping to draw into those Kirlias, so these judges just aren't going to be as effective as Consta would like.
No, possibly not. That's the issue. Mew's raw draw power and consistency just trumps it, right?
Yeah, for sure. So Consta just starting his turn here, having to manually attach to the Genesect to ensure that that manual retreat is secured. Now, for the Mew player, a lot of single prizes in front of you. Of course, the Zacian V is there, staring him at the face, but you know, he's going to be having to put that constant pressure on, taking out these rolls. So Brian just, you know, isn't able to get fixed up. But here we see, important here, the Cram-O-Matic with the Power Tablet. We've seen how influential those damage modifiers have been in this matchup.
They're huge, right? It's the whole reason that Mew can function. Mew being able to bump its damage with Choice Belt and the power tablets mean that it can reach the one-hit KOs that it's been known for, that we've kind of grown to love about Mew VMAX. The issue being in the future formats coming. The Choice Belt becomes less and less relevant, right?
No, yeah, for sure. You know, these EXs, they're going to be up and coming. They're the new kids on the block. They're the wonder kids. So yeah, we might see a reduction in Choice Belt, but for now, you know, Consta saying this is still influential in my deck. I still need to be playing this. I still need that damage buff. But for the power tablets, in that same vein, you know, God of War EX, it's 310 HP.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's absolutely massive. And for Consta, you know, these power tablets may be just so important to his game plan. And we can see here the Mysterious Tail for the level ball, and I'm sure it's going to be another Curlier.
Yeah, there we go. Again, that Mysterious Tail is just so essential to this deck. You can see that it's just fundamental. It's easier to get into all of the important items cards that you need if you can just search directly for them.
Yeah, these God of War decks, you know, they run on efficiency. You know, all of this ball search, just increasing those probabilities to get those Curlier out on your second turn. And we see here another refinement into a worker, also a fog crystal, can possibly get another Ralts down. Oh no, the other Ralts is prized, so he only has two as an option to him.
But then again, energy isn't a bad resource in this game right now. No. Energy is really important for God of War, regardless if you're using it or discarding it. So they haven't concealed cards this turn yet, so we might see a concealed cards for further card draw. Yeah,
for sure. But if Consta is able to take a knockout on that, on those Curlier on the bench, it could prove up trumps for Brian. You know, only having the one God of War down can be risky to the game plan and can lock him out of being able to be flexible with the Psychic Embrace, with the Shining Arcana God of War as well. And here we see a Lost Vacuum from Consta, reducing the cards in his hands so he can optimally draw with the Fusion Strike system.
And if you don't know much about Mew, the current very favored tactic is to be playing those Path to the Peaks every single turn. However, they turn off your own Genesect draw. So it's really important that Consta is setting themselves up for victory by getting all of their resources ready for the next turn.
Yeah, of course, and it's important to see what he would have Chromatic for. They're getting the heads. It could be a boss adding pressure, and yes, it definitely was a boss there. Adding the pressure, taking a knockout possibly on that Zarshan V, I would imagine. Yeah, and that's what he opts for.
Yeah, going for the Zarshan. The only thing with any energy on the board. However, we know how good God of War is at recurring that.
Yeah, we know how Mew just adds the pressure to to the game. You know, taking these early, powerful knockouts, stopping your opponent, disrupting their game plan, and this is exactly what we're seeing here from Consta.
Absolutely. It's all about keeping that pace consistent, making sure they're putting pressure on God of War, because God of War, although it takes a little while to build up all of their Pokemon, doing all of those little things eventually turn to big things, and they've got to compete hard on every single play, otherwise it's going to spell doom.
Yeah, and talking about big things and adding pressure, Consta's now going to be 3 prizes up in this game. Ooh. It's all on Brian to bring it back.
That is rough, and I'm not talking about Zacian. So we are going to go ahead into Brian's turn for another Mysterious Tail Mew, really putting in some work here. Top deck's another level ball, so their search is really good. I think the deck is just running so much slower than Mew right now that they're really struggling to keep up. Can they pull it back?
Yeah, I like the early path here as well. You know, it's asking Brian to you know, have you got any outs to this path? And, you know, as the game goes on, Brian is going to be losing these outs as the game goes on. You know, that worker cannabis used. Now you're going to have to palpate it back. You only have 2 stadium outs yourself as well, with the Collapse Stadium and the Temple of Sinnoh. Temple of Sinnoh also can be kind of influential in this matchup, being that Consta only plays Special Energy. And let's see here what he opts to get from that level ball. I believe it was a Curlier just to thin it out. And I imagine a worker is going to be coming down soon just so he can draw some more cards.
Yeah, Worker's really great in this matchup, being able to remove that stadium with a supporter, but also go ahead and draw 3 cards. They can also power pad to be able to work her later. I think there is a way that Brian can secure the prize race here.
Yeah, and sure, and let's see how this navigates here. You know, a player of Brian's caliber will definitely have a game plan in mind. Level balls there for another curlier. And unfortunately, you know, prizing that Roltz has really been detrimental to his setup here. You know, having that earlier knockout on the Roltz, only giving him an availability to play 2 curlier and then again 2 Gardevoir as well.
I wonder.
Go on.
I wonder if Brian can run Consta's resources so thin that their own path to the peak in their list could be used to stop the Genesects.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Consta will be going through that game plan, you know, playing his own path to the peak. He does require his own outs, like you rightly say there. And, you know, most importantly, he has set himself up for that eventuality. With 2 Mew VMAX on the board, he can just simply retreat into the other, require no switch outs, and just keep streaming that, you know, those really powerful attacks.
Yeah, they've made sure they covered their back with everything they've got.
Yeah,
and that's really crucial at this stage in top 8.
Yeah, sure. It's all about increasing your odds, right? And, you know, that's what these players do. That's what these good players really keep an eye out for. And that's what Consta has exactly done here. Really well played. And I'm sure he'll be able to keep the pressure on Brian. And Brian, you know, being that he's 3 prizes down in this matchup, you know, he has to start really applying, like I said, that pressure and start taking some knockouts.
Oh, collapsed stadium, trying to put some pressure on Consta. Just as we were saying, their board was all prepped and looking strong, being able to remove any of their Pokemon. It's pretty crazy. Like, do they sacrifice the Mew so they can no longer Psychic Leap, which they've gone for, or do they sacrifice their draw power by taking away a Genesect? Both pretty scary.
Yeah, it seems that Consta's pretty confident in his board state right now to discard that Mew pretty quickly. And here we see the promotion of the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. I can imagine a Brainwave attack coming up. Psychic Embrace now active with that Collapse Stadium, like you said, in the game now. And here we see, and here we see a Psychic Embrace. Taking that 80 damage there as well. Oh, Serena here, taking a knockout on the Genesect, and now he's like he's just come out of nowhere. This is right back in the game.
That's exactly how Gardevoir works, though, right? We are jumping back into the game the moment it looks like it may not be a favorable position. Those Curlier are suddenly able to evolve into beautiful Gardevoirs and absolutely take the opponent by storm. We're moving on to Consta's turn. Let's see if they can keep up the pace they set early in the game.
And he's absolutely popped off here. You know, I didn't see the boss in hand, but this is absolutely fantastic play by Brian. And, you know, now that he plays the Sky Seal Stone as well, he's actually only 1 knockout away from taking this game. If he's able to Miriam back the Zacian that is in his discard pile, unfortunately he has prized 1, so he doesn't have access to that straight away, so he will have to Miriam, get out the Zacian, get out the Sky Seal Stone, and hopefully take a knockout on the Mew VMAX.
Absolutely, that's really the scary part about the Sky Seal Stone, right? It can just come out of nowhere, out of left field, and Consta's poor Mew VMAX could be taken out for a whopping 4 prize cards. You do not see that every day. 1 Pokemon goes down and offers up 4 prize cards.
No, yeah, it offers up a quick game. Only 2 knockouts required on Brian's side. 1 on a Genesect, 1 on a Mew VMAX. It's massively advantageous to keep that Sky Seal Stone in the mind for the game plan. And here we see a deck search from Consta. Just failing that Ultra Ball, I believe it was.
Looks like it, yeah. Again, just thinning the deck, seeing if there's anything they can take, but they don't want anything that's going to clog their hand. Taking a Mew VMAX right now, for example, would be bad. They're not able to discard that. And so, going ahead and playing down the Mew V and a Feather Ball, Power Tablet, and going into the first Genesect from there.
Yeah, I believe, you know, this is the unfortunate side of Mew, having to use the resources that may be valuable in the late game. You know, just to draw cards from Genesect, maybe just to find those 1 or 2 pieces. I think he'd probably be hoping for a Judge here. He realizes, you know, the engine of Brian's deck is now void. We're taking out a Shining Arcana Gardevoir. The only draw support he will have is that concealed cards. If he's able to also shut that off with Path to the Peak, you know, it could turn in his favor.
Yeah, it's interesting to remember that Radiant Pokemon's abilities also get turned off by Path to the Peak. So in accidental effect almost, not the direct target of the path to the peak, but we see things like obviously our Radiance and also things like Luminion, which people forget about quite often.
No, yeah, for sure. We could be seeing a big judge coming up from Consta, and we've seen some massive judge plays on the stream thus far. You know, who you rooting for? Who are you rooting for? Do you think Brian can turn this back?
I think Brian might have this, you know. I have confidence that I feel like his calm, composed aura has me convinced that he's got this.
Oh, and we see double power tablet being played.
Oh,
and of course, with the cleansing gloves on Mew, he is able to take out the Psychic Embrace God of War EX. This is absolutely massive.
Just as I say that, the hope is draining. No, the God of War's needed to put all the energy on.
This is massive.
Oh, no, look at Brian's face. Bless him. No, he's going to scoop
he's going to scoop.
No, he's going to save some time. It's really crucial in top 8 that you're taking your time and making sure that your deck, especially one that requires evolution, is going to have all the time it needs to overcome your opponents.
Yeah, with no Ralts on the board, unfortunately, unable to get another Psychic Embrace God of War into play, you know, to take the advantage of the Zarshin with the Sky Seal Stone, like I said before. But Constant, what a draw. It's just something that, he can get it, but I'm just constantly surprised on stream. You know, these judges, these draws, sometimes I'm just surprised at how people are going to just pop off like this. You know, it's not an improbability, but, you know, just the odds of that, you know, it's so great to see sometimes. And here we see Consta's achievements coming up on the board.
Consta, of course, is one of our very, very strong players here in the top 8. And you can see that by their recent accolades, this could end up being their biggest in recent times. World Championships 2019. Remember, you've got to earn an invite to that. There were going to be many events leading up to that aren't even mentioned here that secured that 67th place. Absolutely spectacular. Stuttgart, 13th place. Sheffield, 16th. Harrogate, 22nd. And Bristol, 26th place. All fantastic achievements.
Yeah, huge achievements there. Constant, not shy of the big stage by the looks, and maybe, you know, adding to his accolades here, and his day's not finished. He can get better than the top 8, of course, with a win here against Brian, winning game 1. Definitely helps him out there.
Yeah, a little bit. We've got a head start, but it is very, very far from over yet. There is still plenty of time for anyone to bring it back at this stage of the game. The top 8 has only just begun, so everyone is in it to win it so far.
Yeah, no, and sure, and hopefully we'll get into the game 2 now. And let's have a look at these prizes. Oh, Gradient Greninja, not fantastic, and also the Collapse Stadium. Sky Seal Stone, also prized.
Oh, you don't love to see that. Generally, God of War lists are typical for only running one Sky Seal Stone, and this one is no exception.
Yeah, of course, and that massive game plan of just taking those 2 knockouts, hopefully one on the Mew VMAX with the Sky Seal Stone, is going to be voided, at least for the earlier turns, if Brian is able to take the prize cards. You know, with some early knockouts, hopefully he can draw into the Sky Seal Stone, and hopefully we'll see Consta's prizes. He has put them on the wrong side.
It's very easily done. On stream, you have to put them on the wrong side, or what I would call the wrong side, because I'm very used to putting them on my other side. Yeah. So it's very, very easily done. Yeah,
and here we see Brian starting strong with a VIP pass. He'll be happy to see that no Ralt surprise, but possibly unhappy to see that his Radiant Greninja is not available to him. And here we see the first deck search of the game. I imagine he's going to be going for 2 Ralts, or maybe even a Ralts Zarshin. Oh, yeah, and of course the Mew for the early Mysterious Tail to try and get himself set up, find those pieces. Yeah,
it certainly shouldn't be underestimated that Greninja is so useful not only for card draw, but in God of War, it's essential for getting those energy into the discard pile even faster.
Yeah, for sure. And he'll be seeing a retreat, hopefully trying to find another Battle VIP pass to get, you know, all of the buddies down, get the whole gang, the whole Ralts gang.
Get the band back together. Come on, Ralts, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Just one little deck check there. Again, checking the prizes, look at the hand, and he'll be hoping for a manual retreat into that Mew. for Consta, not a terrible start. Well, I say not a terrible start. You can only start with 2 Pokemon. It's either the Mew or the Genesect. It's either one.
Very true. They're not running the Fusion Strike variants. They've not got those other like cheeky little basic Pokemon that they can put out. It always surprises me that Mew doesn't suffer too many mulligans in these competitions because they have very limited basic Pokemon, and I seem to run a deck with 10 times more, and I always mulligan.
Yeah, only the 8 basics in Consta's deck, being the 4 Mew, 4 Genesect, and here we see, just like I said, finding that other Battle VOP pass. Ask and you shall receive from Brian's side.
Indeed, he did ask. Who did he ask, though? Because that's a lot of rolls on that bench there. I think he might have gone to the Pokemon Center and been like, right, okay, I'm going to need all of these rolls. Sorry, goodbye.
He asked our Lord Arceus for these Battle VIP passes, for
these
sure.
Blessed Battle VIP pass to summon the rolls down. And yeah, they have not disappointed. That was a brilliant turn 1 from Brian, really setting the stage of a very typical, perfect, I would add, of God of War start.
Yeah, and something I didn't mention, 2 Curly are also chilling out in Brian's hand as well. They'll be popping up and down
in that hand
next turn. If he doesn't get judged, sorry, that is.
That's very true, but even then, Judge shuffles into the deck. So unlike some of the other disruption cards we've had in format in the past, they could end up back in that hand, chilling.
Yeah,
exactly where they belong, ready to roll.
And of course, no other ball search used by Brian, so all of those level balls will be available to him. Winning the prizes, though, of course, so he will be having access to 3 Ultra Ball, 3 level ball to try and find those Curly next turn if he were to get judged, like you say. And Consta here starting with a prize check, as all good players do.
Indeed, most are very flustered, I find, for the prize check. Sometimes it can be really difficult to do. It's a really underestimated skill in players. It takes a really long time to learn not only your deck and the way that it's constructed, but then also memorizing kind of what the important things to look out for. I think it would be really virtually impossible to remember every single thing that's in your prize cards from that first deck check if you didn't do the studying on your own deck.
Yeah, for sure. And just seeing his hand there, I absolutely love the addition of cleansing gloves in these Mew decks now. You know, these are really meta-defining cards. You know, having that cleansing gloves gives you the availability in other matchups, say the Comfey, from the Lost Box. Mew players are now able to Psychic Leap and take a knockout on Comfeys to try and, you know, disrupt your opponent's game plan. And in the Gardevoir matchup, it's just an added damage buff.
Yeah, there are, like we were saying earlier, we got to remember over 50% of our meta share for this day, for day 2 of Malmo Regionals, is Psychic.
Yeah.
If you include the Lost Box decks, over 50%. Cleansing Gloves is a welcome addition when over 50% of the meta share is held by exclusively Psychic types. They're not the same decks, but if you have to choose a modifier between Cleansing Gloves, sort of Defiance Band, or Choice Belt,
yeah. No.
You've got to weigh up which one's going to be most useful, right?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, if you would have told me Cleansing Gloves was in most Mew decks before this tournament, I probably would have laughed. But of course, most of our top players here are opting to choose to use it. And there's a reason why I'm on this desk for sure. But here we see the first judge of the game from Consta.
And like we said earlier, my word, will there be many, many more. It's almost difficult to keep up with their hands when they're judging so much, but it's really essential to this format, and it's kind of defining that, right?
Yeah, Brian will be absolutely gutted that he's had to shuffle that hand that he had into his deck.
It was good. I feel like you caster cursed them.
Yeah, I definitely did. Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, Brian. It's all Ben's fault. Those recurly are gone, and they unfortunately didn't recur any in the new hand.
Yeah, he does have the Fog Crystal, though, still has Mysterious Tail in the active, and will stay in the active as well. Consta unable to, of course, take a prize this turn. He can't evolve turn 1 into his Mew VMAXs, so, you know, that Mysterious Tail could come up good.
It could. So thankfully, at least Mew is still there kicking. Mew, yeah, little baby Mew. I've just realized it's technically Mew v Mew at the moment. I was getting confused by myself. I was like, Mew, wait, I'm talking about, wait, no, there's sweet baby Mew having a nap.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mew's fundamental on both sides, but for Brian, it's really important for them to be able to search out those item cards. Hopefully, little napping sweet baby Mew will not be disrupted by big Mew this turn. Gosh.
Yeah, there's still so many options, you know, in the deck for Brian to try and find those curlier level balls, ultra balls. You know, that's just how the deck works. And for Consta here, playing the escape rope here to put into the Mew. Of course, Mew free retreat for next turn guaranteed. And of course, he does need to deck thin to try and Fusion Strike system even more. Debating putting the path to the peak down, but of course isn't going to find that lost vacuum, which I imagine he was trying to find. And here we see a manual attachment from Brian. And I imagine he's going to be retreating into that mysterious tail.
Yeah, we lose another
it's another judge.
Oh my goodness. We're going again. More shuffling. These guys must be tired out. Their hands after these events, they might have to put them on ice because they are really going for it. Both decks playing spectacular. How many judge between them? A 4 judge between them, but both with PAL pads. You never know how many judge are going to be able to get played in a game like this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So judge off for now, and let's see what Brian can draw into. Can he draw into some more couriers, get some more cards in that hand, start that engine going, getting the psychics in the discard pile ready for later game to take those massive knockouts and take the game?
It looks like on both sides.
Oh, and he finds a courier on the last card.
Oh, that's brilliant. And going for discarding the Psychic Energy, drawing 2 cards off Refinement. Still not seeing a Gardevoir, but there's still time with Mysterious Tail. Both decks seem to be set up in the way that I feel like they'd like at the moment. It's this turn that could be pivotal to Brian's game if they don't see what they need to keep up with Consta.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And the Mysterious Tail really came in effective there, finding that level ball, like we said earlier. And he's going to be popping down another Curlier and hopefully drawing into some more very useful cards with that Refinement ability. So consistent. We see it time and time again. We've seen it multiple times on stream these past 2 days. You just can't stop it.
You can't. It's absolutely relenting. They just go for it. And this is no exception.
Yeah, and we see here another Psychic hitting the discard pile for Brian. There's the Gardevoir, and his turn is looking fantastic. He can, of course, rare candy this turn now into the Psychic Embrace Gardevoir with that Ralts on the bench, and he does just that.
The beautiful part about being able to rare candy into a Gardevoir is still having the Ralts set up to continue refining so that they can refine their deck right down into what they need. They can move the energy into the discard pile effectively to make sure that they're able to use their larger attackers later.
Yeah, Brian there just deliberating whether to actually take the knockout on that Mew. He could have opted to Psychic Embrace onto the Mew, then 3 onto the Gardevoir. However, leaving a Gardevoir with 60 damage is leaving it vulnerable against a deck like Mew, which are able to, you know, keep those damage buffs going with the power tablets, and he doesn't want Consta to be able to take that advantage.
Yeah, it's a little too scary this early in the game, and I don't think this is exactly the game to be taking risks with Consta being 1 up in this top 8.
Yeah, of course. We see here and Cramomatic just being played. Didn't see what he took there from the Cramomatic. I believe it was the Mew V Max, getting ready to take the attack to Brian, offering the damage and boss's orders on the earlier. And here he definitely wants to be Max Miracling here, so he doesn't have to find that switch out for next turn. However, what we see here is another Cramomatic coming down, hopefully opting to maybe Cramomatic away the switch card. Let's see if it's heads. And it's a tails hitting the 5 there. However, you know, 2 cards leaving the hand will mean a better Fusion Strike system now. And the choice belt does come down. 3 cards in hand, Fusion Strike system for 3.
Fusion Strike system being probably one of the most overused abilities in our current meta. We've seen it so much, but those Genesects will just keep drawing cards for our lovely Mew players all day long. That's their job, that's what they're there for. They've not seen many attacks. I have on occasion seen a Genesect attack, but not at this tournament. Yeah,
unfortunately, Costa not playing the Fusion Strike system, Fusion build, I should say, sorry. Path to the Peak coming down, and I imagine it's going to be a Techno Blast for the knockout on the Curlier.
Yeah, getting ahead, taking that first prize card. Will it be essential in this match? We both know that both of these competitors have capabilities in their deck to take many prize cards on one turn, right? We both contemplated it last game. We thought, oh, Brian might be able to bring this back, and then unluckily Consta did have the boss's orders available, so it wasn't quite possible as they once thought.
Yeah, for sure, and the level ball here, finding probably that extra Curlier.
There it is.
Yeah, it's coming down here. He does have an abundance of psychic energy in the hand as well. A couple of refinements, Fog Crystal as well, to maybe try and find that Zacian V to start applying the pressure.
Yeah, we haven't seen Zacian yet this turn, so we'll have to see when that decides to come out without the Sky Seal Stone, but we do have the second Zacian this game, unlike last time, so will it be pivotal? Will it matter? Are they going to be able to perform just as well regardless? And it's an early prize card, so we might see that big Sky Seal Stone turn yet.
Yeah, he can still, you know, he can still win the game the old-fashioned way. He can knock out 2 Mew VMAXs if he is able to get enough Psychic in the discard so early on. And we see another Psychic here hitting the discard pile, drawing into another Professor's Research, has Fog Crystal also in hand as well. Just find another Psychic and another Fog Crystal from the Mysterious Tail. So here we see...
being able to grab more. They've really used Mysterious Tail to its full ability this match. I don't think I've seen quite as many Mysterious Tails going on, but it's so good being able to attach the energy to Mew to give it the retreat cost it needs to go in for more and keep digging through the deck for items.
Yeah, with such a high item count in the deck, you know, utilizing a card like Mysterious Tail is only going to be to your advantage when setting up. But there's so much Psychic now hitting the discard pile. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and with 2 Fog Crystal in hand, I imagine that's probably going to be turning into 9 very shortly, with 1 Fog Crystal there, and of course with Ultra Ball in hand as well. He doesn't even need refinement to start discarding those Psychic Energy as well. And we see here just deliberating whether to play down the level ball, but decides to not.
No, their deck is looking particularly thin, so they have done a lot of the thinning work already. They've got a lot of energy. Is it 9 in the discard already? So, oh no, is it 4, 5, 6, 7 in the discard, and then, sorry, 1 on the Curlier by the looks of it already. So they've done a really good job of getting the right numbers almost. Oh, they're just so close yet so far. They've really got to build their board up before they've got the right amount of energy in the discard pile, and that's not quite enough yet.
Yeah, he was a couple of Psychic away from taking a knockout on the Mew VMAX with the Zacian V, but unfortunately unable to find the right cards at the right time, at least for now. And we see here a Chromatic Heads from Consta. Just taking a look through the deck, and so he wants to he wants to add pressure, continue to add pressure on the main engine of Gardevoir. I can imagine only taking another knockout on another Curlier could be to his advantage here. We see here a Choice Belt just being attached to the Genesect, not of much use in this matchup, of course. And we see here a Lost Vacuum on the path to the peak, and we see here another Judge.
Yeah, the Astral Radiance Gardevoir from the Shining Arcana build is really quite key against Mew in that it can be frustrating when Mew comes up against too many single prizes.
Yeah, no, and we talk about how the pop-off of the Gardevoir deck just coming out of nowhere. Brian, like I said, only 2 cards away from taking the knockout on the Consta, just a Stadium out and another energy. He had Fog Crystal in hand, but you know, these are the fine margins that players have to play to try and take the victory.
Yeah, there are, like you say, fine margins, and that's what's so key about these matchups, with these gigantic Psychic types going off against one another. Managing to take as many prize cards as they can is so important, and Costa has a slight disadvantage when it comes to that due to having to take out some single prize knockouts.
Yeah, for sure. And we see here an Ultra Ball. He does have 2 Power Tablet in hand. Could we see another absolutely massive knockout on the Gardevoir EX? Who knows? But here we see another Fusion Strike system for 3. And we've seen it time and time again. The Mew VMAX now is such a popular archetype within our format. And people are just so tried and tested with the deck. It's so great to see some mastery here. from Consta. And we see here a manual retreat, of course, having to use Turbo Strike last turn, so he isn't able to attack with that Mew, retreating into the other Mew VMAX, like I said a couple of turns ago. And we see here delivering another Path to the Peak coming down. And Brian, with only 4 cards in hand, it's asking quite a lot.
It really is. These God of War decks can struggle if too many of their resources are dragged thin, and I think that's the case in this instance. Sadly, there doesn't look like there's a lot more that they can take with those like level balls, or God, it's all looking not so great. What do you think they're trying to aim for right now? I can't really see a clear game plan for that Mew.
Yeah, it's difficult to say for Brian. You know, not a great position to be in with Path to the Peak down. But I believe, I don't know if I see the worker in hand or if it's a Serena, but decides to use the refinement there, drawing another 2 cards. I think this other refinement is going to be absolutely massive for him here. Deciding on what to get rid of. I think Penny maybe at an advantage here. I'm unsure whether it's going to be relevant in this matchup at all. So just deciding, I think he's just thinking here, refinement away. And let's see, refinement away the penny.
I think the struggle here comes with they've just not simply got enough damage in the discard pile. They've not got enough energy there to be racking on enough to a larger attacker such as Zacian to take out the colossal Mew VMAX yet. Yeah,
if he can manage to attach to the Curlier, manually retreat, he does have, I believe, 7 in the discard pile, so he can take a knockout here. Oh, I see the Temple of Sinnoh. I didn't see the Temple of Sinnoh, so he can take the knockout here if he can manually retreat. Oh, decides to attach to the God of War EX. The manual retreat there coming down. Has he got enough for knockout? Opting to promote the God of War EX, choosing to Psychic Embrace onto it for 40 damage. And here we see possibly a boss on a Genesect. I suppose if he can still manage to evolve a Curlier into a God of War EX next turn, I suppose the Skysteel Stone option is still available to him.
It looks like that must be the prize journey that they're going for, right? They're trying to see if they can prioritize doing the Skysteel Stone Mew knockout. So this 2 prizes on the Genesect is perfect for their prize mapping.
Yeah, of course, but if Consta is able to match this with another knockout, it puts him down to 2 prizes, which means that Brian will have to be using the Skysteel Stone full game to keep up with the prize race. Yeah,
they will need to, but I think that looks pretty plausible. They've got enough energy now. They've got 6 in the discard pile, sorry, and then 3 on God of War, making 9 total, which is enough to take out a Mew VMAX. So they've already got it ready and set. They just need to get that Skysteel Stone, which is now in hand from the prize cards. Zacian's in hand, so if they don't face any disruption from Consta this turn, it could spell disaster for our Mew player.
Yeah, fortunate enough, you are 100% right to get the Skysteel Stone off the prizes. Puts down another Genesect for Consta. On Consta's side now, he's up and running, back with the 3 Fusion Strike Genesect, and just delivering what he can do here. He does have those 2 power tablets in hand. He is able to hit 250 with the Mew VMAX, so we will need 1 more damage buff. There's the Cleansing Gloves coming down.
They are.
So he is able to take the knockout on the God of War EX. I can imagine a manual retreat into that benched Mew VMAX, like I said. Lost vacuuming away the Temple of Sinnoh as well. This is an absolute huge turn, getting rid of any threat on board at the moment. And here we see a Fusion Strike system for 5. Attaching that Forest Seal Stone as well. That's also still live. Hopefully trying to find the last few pieces of the puzzle. Can he find Judge? Can he find Path to the Peak here to try and stop Brian running away with this game with that, like you said, the Zacian Skysteel Stone play?
Yeah, indeed. Looks like Path to the Peak is the only way out of this. because otherwise that Gardevoir, well, one of the Rolts on the bench is just going to become a Gardevoir, and they're just going to be able to put loads of energy onto the Zacian. Sky Steel Stone, game over. It could be it, but Path to the Peak will shut down that Gardevoir's Psychic Embrace ability, not allowing them to do their thing, and then Mew will run away with it. But this is the struggle of Mew, right? They've got so many single prizes. It's not worth them tackling those Rolts, but they can just evolve.
Yeah, no, of course. And we see here the Palpal coming down, not usual inclusion in Mew, but of course seeing the value of the supporters too in his deck, you know, the boss's orders, the judges, gives him that availability to keep streaming those judges and judge, keep disrupting your opponent, and hopefully with the ongoing pressure of the Mew VMAX taking the win.
Yeah, so we'll have to see whether they can pull it out of the bag, because I think this is the pivotal point.
Yeah.
This is the make it or break it moment.
Yeah, an unfortunate draw. He does have Ultra Ball in hand, but he doesn't really want to get rid of any of his resources here. He does have the attachment there with the double turbo energy. I think I see 2 boss. Fusion Strike system for 1.
Is it going to
Oh, it's a power tablet.
Oh,
it's not the judge that he wants.
That is a nightmare. I wonder, was there any other resources that they could have thinned there? I know it's not ideal, but
he does,
they're
of course,
going to go in with the
Sky Seal Stone.
V-Star. They'd kept that precious resource of their V-Star to be able to dig through the deck. It doesn't look like they've got any judge left, so I think they've gone for the Path to the Peak there to try and stop the Gardevoirs.
Yeah, of course. So he's finding the Path to the Peak, asking Brian to have a lot here. Still 2 Refinement being live on the board. However, with Path to the Peak, it is going to make it that much harder for Brian to get a Psychic Embrace back up and running.
It will be, that's the thing. And there we are, there's the knockout. So here we go into the final moments of this game. We will see whether Brian can...
and there's the Collapse Stadium.
That's huge. Zacian Sky Steel, the confidence.
Yeah,
the confidence. It's there because he knows exactly what he's going in for. The retreat cost on the Gardevoir, 40 damage, don't care. Gets for the 9. Oh my gosh, he's gone for all of it. There it is, 9 energy on. And that is 4 prize cards per game. Brian absolutely runs away with it. 4 prize cards on the Mew VMAX.
Yeah, Sky Order on the Sky Seal Stone, so pivotal to Brian's game plan there. And, you know, we haven't seen a lot of Gardevoir on stream playing in Sky Seal Stone. A lot of players now opting to go for the Forest Seal Stone. But Brian showing, you know what, I'm sticking to my guns here. I'm just sticking with the Sky Seal Stone. I don't care what you're trying to play. I want to take these big 4 prize knockouts.
I think it's great for the Mew VMAX matchup, right? This is exactly the kind of moment that Gardevoir lives for. Yeah,
no, of course, seeing the value in the Sky Seal Stone, definitely coming up trumps there for Brian. And, you know, straight into a game 3, top 8, pressure's on.
We love a good game 3. The pressure's on. It really builds that momentum. It always gets exciting.
Yeah, these are the games we love to stream, we love to watch. And, you know, who are you voting for here? Are you voting for Gardevoir? Are you sticking with Gardevoir?
I think Gardevoir's got this. I think Brian is a clever, clever bean. I think they've got this. I can see right through their game plan. I think they've got this. I think they know exactly what they're doing. They were clearly very poignant in their attacks in that game. They knew which route they were going to go down, and they executed it exquisitely. Yeah, Brian, a very well-known player in Europe, no stranger to the top tables. Here we see his accolades, his achievements. You know, absolutely it's just so intimidating coming up against players and seeing players like Brian opposite you. You know, second in LAIC Sao Paulo, top 32 World Championships, 9th place at LAIC, top 16 at EUIC in Berlin in 2019, top 32 in NIAC 2022 as well. You know, these are the sort of players that we love to watch. I wish I had a record like that. One day, when I grow up, I want to be like Brian.
One day, come on, don't put yourself down. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Just a little bit of practice here or there. It's okay. Fun.
I need to get some more Gardevoir. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I know. Well, it certainly helps. You know, it certainly helps.
Clearly.
No, yeah, exciting to see this game 3 come to a close now. Of course, top 8. One of these players will be coming with us into top 4. Let's have a look at these prizes.
Let's have a little look. Couple of energy and Gardevoir is never preferable. However, we know that with 9 energy, we can do a lot of damage and cause a lot of trouble for our Mew players. So the 2 isn't too much of a problem as long as the others in deck are able to get into the prize cards quickly. So Greninja not being in the prize cards this time is pretty good.
Yeah, interesting to see that Brian is only playing 11 Psychic Energy in the Gardevoir list. We usually see 12 now post EUIC with towards momentous second place run. But here we see Consta starting our game off. And here we see the 2 Genesect, I believe, in the starting hand. What a start here. Battle VIP pass? Come on, who are you? And here we see the Sky Seal Stone, the Forest Seal Stone. I'm getting mixed up here myself. Coming down here, opting to go straight for it. The Star Alchemy now live. And I imagine he's going to be looking for another, for a Battle VIP pass to get that full bench. The full bench fully set up straight away. No cards even in the discard pile yet for Consta. You know, what a strong setup here. Just doing a little bit of prize checking here, checking his outs, checking how many path he's got in here, his power tablets. A lot of resources in this deck, important for the Gardevoir matchup.
Yeah, huge. It's important that both of them are trying to see those early game VIP passes. They want that first turn, otherwise it's just a useless card in their deck. Mew finds it a little bit more tough to get rid of those, though, later in the game, whereas Gardevoir excels at it.
Yeah, we see here, just checking his outs, he does have 4 double turbo energy in the deck. Palpad's still in here as well. Boss's orders. You know, this is a thorough deck check. He's definitely checking what the options are available to him. Cleansing Gloves also still in there, and the Roxanne. I can imagine the Battle VIP pass being played shortly to get down those 2 remaining Genesect as well.
Yeah, do you think they're going to go for 2 more Genesect? They did go for a 3rd Mew at one point. So.
I believe so. I think going for the 4 Genesect is optimal here. I think he only needs, actually opting for the Mew. Actually, interesting.
There we are. I think that Consta has played this quite a few times, and they've clearly got the perfect bench in mind. They know exactly what bench they need to go into with Gardevoir to trounce it every time. This is clearly what they've practiced. This is what they're made for. And most top players will know exactly what their ideal opening bench is against every matchup.
Yeah, this is a reason why I'm not in top 8. Obviously, Consta seeing something different here, benching the Mew instead of that 4th Genesect. Let's see how this plays out. And here we see just writing down his prizes there, just a little write down, just to ensure he knows again what options are available to him. Fusion Strike system now live and kicking.
Yeah, when I was a new player, you know, I thought that note-taking wasn't cool, and so I didn't do it. And now I realize it's essential, and I am one of the players that needs to take notes. Otherwise, I will forget which game I've done certain things. I will forget what's in my prize cards the moment I've put my deck back down. And there's absolutely no shame. It's a very high-level player thing to do, but I think I just thought it wasn't very cool when I first started playing.
Yeah, you see all sorts of contraptions players bringing to the tables to try to write their prizes on. It can limit from a notepad to an A4 sheet of paper. Exactly. But, you know, the top players love to do it, you know, keeping an eye on what options they have in front of them, and especially in certain matchups, you know, certain prizes are definitely important. Say, for example, the Sky Seal Stone for Brian last game.
Yeah, they really needed that, and if without it, well, they wouldn't have had game that turn, and Consta probably would have run away with it.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened. But here we see, and important to say, in the hand for Consta is already that Path to the Peak and the Lost Vacuum. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he puts down the Path to the Peak now, opts to Ultra Ball 1 away. Probably opting now for the Mew VMAX, getting ready for next turn, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's worth playing Path to the Peak this turn. To be honest, I'm surprised that they Ultra Balled 1 away. It's a really key card in this matchup. And playing it now, if Brian doesn't have any other basics in hand, well, that's all she wrote, right? Because if Greninja can't even concealed cards to attempt to draw into more, then that path really could stop them in their tracks. They've passed the turn regardless, and let's see if Brian can bring this back.
Yeah, top decking the Lumenion there as well. Of course, does have Temple of Sinnoh in hand, so that path to the peak, like you said, wouldn't have been that useful. Fog Crystal, I imagine, getting the Psychic Energy or the Ralts here.
Yeah, so biding their time and keeping their resources close to their heart was the correct thing to do. That's why they're the pro.
Yeah, for sure. And we see here Brian doing his own little deck check here. I imagine wanting to try and find the options available to him to get set up optimally. You know, he does have that Mew with that mysterious tail ability, so impactful in the starting turns. But let's see what's available to him. Let's check the prizes just again. That one Curlier refinement unavailable to him, so only 3 in the deck available to him. He has Roxanne also in the prizes, could come up influential in the later turns. But here we see an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, but Roxanne being in the prize cards, is it that scary? Yeah. If it's useful in the later turns, almost being out of deck might be of an advantage. It's a weird card that you kind of like to see in the prize cards.
No, yeah, we've mentioned this earlier, especially with that Lost Zone deck. You know, sometimes energy recycler. Stay in the prize cards, buddy. Stay nice and warm in there. I want you in these later turns. I don't want to run into you with any sort of flower selectings. No. I want to take you later on.
Grab a blankie and get cozy because you're staying in there for a little while, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. And here we see the Lumenion coming down, starting off really aggressive here from Brian, hopefully drawing into another Ralts as well. Pop that down, and a Roar of the Sword as well. This is the most intimidating, I suppose, Gardevoir can be, but opting to go for the research, meaning having to discard that Curlier, which means only 2 is available to him.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that even if the path to the peak would have gone down, because Temple of Sinnoh could bump it, Brian's turn would have been exactly the same. Luminion still would have been able to do their thing, and Greninja potentially soon as well.
Yeah, no, of course, and we see here Brian drawing into 2 Battle VIP Pass. Unfortunately, bench already being full. So he probably might opt to fail one and then play the other, or maybe keep it as discard fodder for the refinement. And here we see just doing a little deck search here for another Ralts. If he can manage to utilize Rare Candy here, not having to evolve into the Curlier, I suppose this is still a great place for him to be in.
Yeah, his hand is pretty 50-50. Some of the cards are great for this stage of the game, and some are just going to have to sit in his hand or be discarded by a Professor's Research, which is not ideal. So getting one of the 3 Professor's Research out of the gate early when Sky Steelstone isn't in hand is huge. I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most when playing Gardevoir, is you really want a Professor's Research, but one of your one-offs is in hand that you cannot get back.
Oh yeah, of course. And we see here the Roar of the Sword, such an influential attacker, the Zacian V in this matchup, and Consta slamming that Mew VMAX down. Now he's going to be opting to add the pressure, and with that Lumenion on Brian's side, he's going to be thinking, yummers, that is a nice 2-prizer for me.
Oh god, yeah, he's definitely going to be thinking that. I can see it going through his head now.
Here we see the power tablet coming down. And also, importantly, taking out the Lumenion means that, you know, he's not going to be, Brian is not going to be able to penny anything in the discard pile as well. He constantly wants to be able to take full advantage of that Lumenion being on board as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's bizarre because the Luminion can escape from them. It can swim back into that discard pile. Not quite like its attack, but there are multiple ways that that Brian's going to be able to get that Luminion off the bench. So we could see the Collapse Stadium or Penny come down to be able to pull that Luminion back from a slightly scary position. It's really not ideal for it to be sat as a bit of a target on its back on the bench.
Oh yeah, and here we see the boss's orders actually on the Zacian instead. Having to play that power tablet will mean that he wants to be using the full advantage of that card. So, and here we see Path to the Peak also coming down, retreating into the fully fledged new VMAX with the double turbo.
And there goes Zacian, unfortunately getting knocked out, but at least there's one energy in the discard pile. So Gardevoir gains a small advantage from having a Pokemon be knocked out quite so early in the game.
Yeah, down she goes, unfortunately. We see here the part with the Path to the Peak down as well. It'll mean that it's asking Brian a lot to get set up here as well. And here we see another Curlier coming down. As we said earlier, only 2 as an option to him, with 1 in the discard pile, 1 in the prizes. It'll mean that if he wants to evolve that Ralts, he'll have to depend on cards on the rare candy, sorry. And here we see the first refinement of the game.
Getting rid of that Battle VIP pass, which they kept in their hand earlier, just for an easy discard, knowing that it's not going to affect their game plan. It's not going to be anything important. A refinement, again, for an energy. Really important for Brian to be pushing as much energy into the discard pile as possible right now, because Consta has a really intimidating build and, quite frankly, commanding position in this game right now, having set the clock of the match by already taking 2 prize cards.
Yeah, no, the problem here, Brian deliberating using the Worker, getting rid of the Path to the Peak, but of course, using Worker isn't Penny.
No.
So if the longer he leaves that Lumineon on the field, the bigger the risk. Draws into the Penny, off the Worker as well.
But grabbing more energy so we can continue to discard it. Greninja hasn't had a chance yet to throw some energy into the discard pile like a shuriken.
No, yeah, of course. I think he's going to be trying to find that collapsed stadium. If he can bench a Ralts again and manage to get rid of that Lumineon, it'll be full advantage to him. But here we see a big concealed cards, doesn't draw into that collapsed stadium.
Oh no, not being able to remove the Lumineon. Still, it remains a liability on the bench for Brian, being able to allow Consta to continue to take multiple prize cards for a relatively low HP cap.
No, yeah, for sure. And we've said it time and time again. Mew sometimes just absolutely runs away with the game if you continue to put down 2 prizes, especially cards like Lumineon with no damage buff required. This is just, it's just fodder for Mew to get rid of and take an easy 2 prizes.
Yeah, I think there we go. Another Ralts down. The memory skip this one, only 60 HP. Not that it matters too much in this matchup, unfortunately, as Mew's weakest attack still does 70 damage as long as it doesn't have the double turbo. But in this instance, it can do, so we'll have to see. Have they just passed the turn, opting not to evolve anything this turn? Yeah,
big Chronomatic coming up from Consta. If it's heads, I'm only imagining 1 card is going to be the... Oh, it's Tails. So Tails there, so... Oh. That Lumineon lives another day, perhaps. Here we see the Feather Ball. I imagine it's going to be a Fell Search or an evolution for that Mew V. I imagine benching the Mew V, he will want to keep maybe Psychic Leap as an option.
Maybe.
But here we see the Mew VMAX coming down here. He's going to be running through that deck to try and find that boss's orders.
Yeah, I mean, they run 3 in the deck total, so it's a relatively high count even for a Mew deck. So there's 2 more on the docket, a relatively high chance of achieving that, I would think, at this stage.
Yeah, no, for sure. And here we see the attachment here as well. Unfortunately, nothing that Consta would want to get rid of with the Lost Vacuum, so that's going to be, oh well, I suppose he can get rid of the Forest Seal Stone, but maybe there's something in his hand he doesn't really want to get rid of. Oh yes, I see 2 power tablets, I think, with Path to the Peak, very valuable resources, but unfortunately doesn't even draw into that bosses yet again. He does have Palpad. He could Palpad bosses back in to try and increase his odds on that next Fusion Strike system. Here we see boss's orders.
Increasing their chance here by Palpad, bringing back 1 boss's orders and a Roxanne.
You see, he's debating here as to whether shuffling in another supporter. Shuffling in another supporter will decrease his odds of getting the boss's orders, and he's going full here.
He's going for it, thinking, nope, I don't want this game to go on long enough for me to be able to use that Roxanne, so I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to shuffle in, see if we can get the boss's orders.
Oh, a bit of a risk, but Consta saying, I'm too fast, I'm too furious. I need to get that boss.
Oh, I love to see a risk or two being taken. And, you know, these sometimes are the moments to take it. We're in top 8. It's 1-1. That boss's orders would really set the pace and secure them, I think, a win here if they can take 2 more prize cards right now.
Yeah, he really is unsure of using these power tablets, but he's just so desperate to find the boss. He was the Judge 2 choice belt.
Not there yet. We've got 1 more Genesect. The choice belts can be attached to the MV Maxes. They can go again for 2.
Yeah, here we see.
Oh my goodness.
2 more. 1, 2. Oh no, doesn't
find it. They do have a pass to the peak. They can put that back in place, but not finding boss is extremely disappointing.
Yeah, really painful for Costa. I guess what's going through his head is whether he could, you know, afford to lost a vacuum one of the paths in his hand, or what, you know, and unfortunately for him, not, but going for a Judge.
Yeah, going for a Judge. Try and see if they can stop Brian from drawing as many cards. The thing is, Judge is so strange in this matchup because it is a great disruption supporter a lot of the time. Yeah. But both decks draw cards so relentlessly that it hardly feels like it matters sometimes.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Consta, you know, giving another opportunity to Brian to get rid of that Lumenion, if Brian is available to, and also start applying pressure with some attacks, you know, this could turn very much in Brian's favor here.
Yeah, very quickly it could change the pace of the game. We're gonna see what Brian gets. Oh, okay. God of War, that's a Shining Arcana God of War, an Ultra Ball Battle VIP pass, and 1 more energy. They currently have 4 in the discard pile.
Yeah, so of course here, having the availability to evolve into the Shining Arcana God of War will mean that you're seeing 6 cards this turn. Oh, draws it into the Ray Candy as well.
Oh, that's quite nice. It's not a great attacker in this matchup because the damage cap on it, due to having to put damage counters on itself, is a little low. However, if you get really lucky on some Shining Arcana draws, it isn't impossible.
Yeah, no, and this is a big turn for Brian here. He needs quite a lot here. He also needs to start taking some prizes before Consta can run away with the game. And here we see that there's that collapsed stadium that he was searching for all that time ago. And here we see another refinement. Ooh. Drawing into the Psychic Embrace. God of War, he will have the option of recandying into either one of the God of Wars and evolve into the other as well. So if he's able to use the Shining Arcana, we'll see 2 more cards. I imagine it will be massive from that Shining Arcana. Maybe he needs a couple of Psychic Energy on the Zacian to start taking surprises.
I think the issue here is that Consta has really set the pace of the game, and I don't know if Brian can catch up, and that's going to be a huge issue. They're going for the Shining Arcana, draw 2. Neither are energy, so they both have to go to hand. The energy in the discard pile is underwhelming at the moment, and it's going to have to get bigger in there in order to keep up, because something needs to happen, and soon.
Yeah, he definitely needs to start thinking about how I'm going to get rid of that Lumenion as well. Unfortunately, with just that Ultra Ball in hand, I don't believe he has any more basics as an option to him to put on the field to get full advantage of that collapsed stadium. Just another look through the discard pile. Are they all in there? Maybe they are. And here we see a big Ultra Balling away, level ball. Judge. Won't see Judge this turn, nor will we see a penny, I believe.
Oh, so it seems that Lumenion has only helped Brian flip-flop this game a little bit.
Oh, he does have the Mew still in deck, so Collapse Stadium is live. And here we see a pal pad, but how is he going to be taking prizes this turn,
that's
though?
What I'm wondering. I just can't help but feel that the fish just didn't pay off in that instance. They've had to work so hard to protect it, and now to get it off the bench, they've used a lot of resources. The deck is thin, and they've still taken 0 prize cards.
And the problem also with using Collapse Stadium is meaning that Lumenion is going to be swimming into the discard pile, which means that the Echoing Horn play is live if if Consta is able to stadium bounce this collapsed stadium, which I imagine he will be.
Yeah.
There's an abundance of the lost vacuum available to him.
I can't help but mention that Mike's list was very much like this with the cleansing gloves and the echoing horns. So he definitely, out of the casting crew, had probably the best bet on which decks we were going to see in the top here. And they were quite right, even down to some of the tech cards.
Oh, don't give him all the credit.
Oh, I mean, I'm just...
Here we see Brian promoting that Shining Arcana Gardevoir. And here we see the attachment here. I'm unsure if I saw a boss's orders in hand, if he can take a knockout on Genesect. Let's have a look what he's got here. He doesn't. No, he just has that Sky Seal Stone. And unfortunately, it's just a simple attack here on the Mew VMAX, adding some pressure, I suppose. However, maybe not enough to get back into this game. That was a big turn for Brian. If Consta is able to take that game plan, like I said, with the echoing horn, it could be running away with Consta here.
It really could spell disaster. So Brian's got his head in his hands, and we're going to see if they can just about survive this turn.
And the boss's orders is in hand as well.
No.
That judge was very kind to Consta, I believe, and the Ultra Ball coming down there.
Oh my goodness, this is riveting stuff for our top 8.
Yeah.
It is not, he's not making it easy, is he? He's making it so difficult on poor Brian. But honestly, that is the way it goes sometimes. Mew is just overwhelming with its speed, and Gardevoir needs that time to set up, and Consta just has not given it. He's not given any wiggle room at all.
No, yeah, of course. And the collapsed stadium is going to be a little bit disruptive to Consta's drawing power. Now that there's only 5 Fusion Strike Pokemon on the field, he can only draw up to 5. And here we see a Path to the Pig, Nestball, Featherball. Sorry, I thought that was an echoing horn. I was about to scream. I was about to jump out my seat. Like here we see the
but not quite this turn yet. There are 2 Genesect Fusion Strike systems left where they can draw up to 5 in their hand, unless they're able to bump that stadium sooner rather than later to allow them to play more Fusion Strike Pokemon.
No, yeah, of course. And I think here it's a really awkward situation for Brian, with the only card being in his hand being that Sky Sealed Stone. He doesn't want to, of course, use Refinement with it. And of course, if Consta is able to Path to the Peak, place Path to the Peak down on the field, it will give Brian only a 2-card search to find bump and also a knockout on the opposing Mew VMAX. So this is very tight time for Brian, to say the least.
It really is, and I think they're trying their best to think as hard as they can to see any way around this situation. They didn't.
It was the echoing horn and boss.
And the boss.
It was the echoing horn and boss. So that play is available to him.
Is a winning hand moment. Look at that. You've got the Path to the Peak to pop the stadium, echoing horn, boss. How could you practically make it up? Look at that.
I saw his mind. He was thinking, oh, I have it.
There we go.
So we see the echoing horn here on the Lumineon.
Oh no, poor Lumineon.
And the boss.
Back onto the bench, only to be pulled tideward forward and knocked out. Poor Lumineon. It really has been thrown through its paces, this game.
This will mean that Consta is only 1 prize card away from taking this top 8 game with this knockout on the Lumineon, with a retreat into the Mew VMAX. He can take the knockout with Turbo Strike here.
I'm not sure Brian can come back from this when Consta only has 1 prize card left to take.
Yes, only 1 boss away now. Even if he promoted the Gardevoir EX with full HP, this is still workable for Consta.
It is indeed. We'll have to see whether they can come back, but I'm not feeling too confident.
Yeah, Miriam, Sky Seal Stone, that is a sorry state for a hand, unfortunately, for Brian.
No.
I'm unsure if I can see a way out for him. Miriam will give him 3 extra cards, but I think the prize race is just too far ahead in Consta's favor for Brian.
Unfortunately, Gardevoir had a really strong start, but wasn't able to evolve fast enough to keep up with the pace of the monster we know in the meta as Mew VMAX. We've got a Shining Arcana there with 1 energy to attach. They're going to go onto the Psychic Embrace Gardevoir on this instance. And, I mean, what next? That's all I can think.
I mean, he can try and be a little annoying to Consta here. He can attach Psychic Embrace onto the Gardevoir EX, promotes a 290 HP Mon, making it a little bit difficult for him, difficult for Consta to take the knockout. Just have a little bit of a judge discussion here. I think it's okay though here. Good to see, and we see a little deck search here from Brian, just checking his outs here. But I'm really unsure with Consta having boss in hand. I'm unsure how this is going to be in the favor for Brian.
That's the issue. They're going to have to disrupt, but it's going to be so difficult to do so. That Roxanne in the prize cards is now looking like it could be crucial. The fact that that is in there and not out here is massive now, because they've not been able to keep pace with the game. No,
yeah, for sure. And we see here a Miriam back there. That's Curlier, also the Luminion and the Zacian V.
Oh, they've decided not to go with the Zacian.
Oh, interesting. I suppose with Consta playing Echoing Horn, Brian's deciding maybe you're playing 2, maybe you're being a little bit spicy, maybe you're playing more than 1, maybe you've got Silene even to try and get back that Echoing Horn. And here we see Miriam here drawing 3. Unfortunately, maybe not enough.
Oh, and you're quite right.
With the disruption.
Wow, going for the pass for the turn, just hoping that Mew just isn't strong enough now to take out a Gardevoir, but Boss was there, and the final prize card has been taken for putting Consta Kalama into our top 8 further and further so.
Yeah, he played that very well. You know, he was using his resources correctly. Resources management is the name of the game when it comes to Mew nowadays. You know, prize checking thoroughly here. Also checking out all those little outs, all those little options to him, and playing it very, very well.
Honestly, both players played fantastic. I feel like Brian just didn't quite get off the mark on that 3rd game quick enough. It was really unfortunate, but here we see Consta in all their glory going into our top cut.
What a pose. It's a top 4 pose for sure. But let's see if it's even a finals pose. Let's see if it's a winner pose from Consta. It could be, but no. Well played to Consta, showing off the formidable power of Mew VMAX, and also, most importantly, the disruption. Judge, path and pray. Tried and tested. Tried and tested
method. Do we even need to pray anymore? I feel like that bit can go out the window. We know that it works.
I've heard a lot of conversations out there. Judge is a lie. My opponent just had it. Roxanne. It just doesn't, it isn't doing what it's supposed to.
I think there's so many decks that have really consistent card draw that we don't need to worry about that too much anymore. You can Judge and Roxanne somebody, well, they can draw cards.
Yeah, no, of course. And, you know, Judge not being a lie in this situation, Consta taking the win. But let's have a look at our top 8 bracket after 3 games. Best of 3, and here we see who's taken the win. Brennan Kammerman taking the win.
Word. We featured a lot of these lovelies on our stream, but I believe we've had all 4 of these on over the last 2 days, so we've been very blessed, and we will get to catch up with them once again.
Yeah, Judge's Curse, who heard of it? You know, all four of these players at the top of their game. Piotr taking the win there against Jan Hausmann. Consta, of course, we featured him taking the win against Brian. Brennan 2-0 against Lucas Enrique. Lasse taking the win against Dario Scano as well. And what a top 4 we have for you here.
Honestly, we've seen all of these players in their glory already, and I can only imagine the pressure that they're facing going into the top 4 of Malmo regionals, the final regionals of this season. The pressure is on. Like, how that blows my mind that we're already near the end of the season. We're almost at the end of the race. We've got a special event, we've got NAIC, but other than that, this is the final regionals, right?
No, yeah, of course. And in this regionals, we've gone from 500 players, or almost 500 players, all the way down to 4. This is crunch time for some of these players. You know, day 2 invites for the World Championships in Yokohama. As we spoke to Piotr earlier, you know, he said, "I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it," and he's coming up here. He's proving it. He is proving it. You know, points are on the line here for some of these players like Piotr, and you know, the better the finish, the more odds they have of securing that top 22 place.
It's really important to them at this stage. The top 22 place is slipping away from some, and others are fighting tooth and nail for it still. It's so all to play for still. There's so much time, yet so little. It's a really strange occurrence and juxtaposition.
Yeah, I mean, who you rooting for? Come on, let me know.
I feel like Piotr has this. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that their accolades in this tournament and who they've already knocked out of this tournament is huge.
No,
right?
yeah. I actually said to Piotr earlier, you've knocked out the final boss.
Yeah, already.
You've gone through.
They've created a new final boss because they're going to have a different one.
Now they are the final boss, right?
So I gotta say that I have a good feeling.
No, yeah, of course. I gotta vote for my boy Brennan.
Yeah,
I think Brennan's going to take it home myself. You know, he's a very strong player. Spoke to him. He's so easygoing. Yeah. He's so relaxed about all this. You know, it's business as always for him. You know.
I think it has to be so for some of these players, though. They've been, you know, they do make their whole lives are with this community. Their whole lives are surrounded by the joy that Pokemon brings us, and so this is one of those pinnacle moments for these players.
No, yeah, and I see how easygoing they are. They keep calm. They keep relaxed. Piotr earlier as well. You know, just seems so cool with it all, you know, and I thought if I was them, I'd be shaking. But, you know, speaking about winners' interviews and winners of the last round, let's take a little short break and go to our next winners' interview for top 8, sorry.
All right then, guys, welcome to the winners interview with our new top 4-person Consta. First of all, how are you feeling?
Feeling good.
Absolutely love that. So I think this is your first top 8, I believe, right?
Yes, it is.
And you were just telling me off air that this, I think, secures your invite, right?
Yes, it does. I needed like 30-something points.
You needed 30 points, so you would have got it just by making, what, day 2, I believe, then,
yes.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
So talk to us, tell the people how you're feeling. So you've got your invitation now, so your trip to Yokohama is all sorted. First of all, congratulations. Love to see that as well. But now it's just almost like you're playing with house money at this point. Everything is just a bonus, you know, all the prizing, the extra CP. How does it feel being in that seat knowing that everything now, all the pressure's off?
Yeah, everything's a win, nothing to lose. So just playing for fun.
Just
and hopefully gets us far, you know.
Love to hear that. Talk to me about your deck choice then. You know, the Old Faithful, Mew VMAX. You had a couple of sneaky additions there. First of all, tell the people what was your maybe 61st, 62nd card choices that unfortunately couldn't make it with the trip here today.
Yeah, I was debating a lot of tech cards on the night before, and then I ended up taking like all of them out. I had like an Oricorio, I had a Collapsed Stadium. I should have considered Lost City. That would have been really good. But I ended up just putting in the third Forest Seal Stone and then the gloves, because it's the least bricky of the tech cards, I felt. In hindsight, maybe the Lost City would have been better, but then again, the gloves have come up in the last 2 rounds, I think. They didn't come up earlier, but now they've been really good.
Yeah, talk to the people about the uses of cleansing gloves. So it's got, right now the meta game is so dominated with psychic types, right? Comfey, Sableye, Gardevoir, even in the Mew VMAX meta. Have you used the cleansing gloves a lot so far?
Yeah, so in 2 games so far, so it's fine. The main use of that is being able to do that one shot on the Gardevoir EX. That's the most important thing. But it can also be used for like knocking out what is a Mew VMAX in the mirror. If you like, it only comes up sometimes because you have to like be behind in order to have to go for the big knockout. It's really hard to do. So. But sometimes there's like a Zacian that you want to kill that hasn't got any damage on, but mostly it's just for the Guardy.
Awesome. I found when I was playing it came up a lot with a Psychic Leap into Lost Box maybe also. Have you managed to use it for that as well?
I don't think I did. Well, like, in theory it works for that as well. There's like a Sableye you need to knock out and like leave them without a VMAX in play so they can't drape on you.
Awesome, yeah. Hopefully that may even come up maybe later on in this tournament, depending on how far you go. Now, looking at your list, you mentioned the third Forest Seal Stone. A lot of people keep that at maybe a 2 count. What makes you want to have that third copy?
Just consistency. Like, it's a thing you can draw on the first turn, and it's not a brick. It gets you the VIP pass. It gets you going.
Which I think
it's been good today.
Which I think we saw in maybe game 2 or 3, actually, the turn 1 Forest Seal Stone for the VIP pass, making sure you can play the game all the time, right?
Yeah, I think it was game 1, actually, because might have done it in 2 games, but because the third stone is a different language, it's not English. It's one I loaned from a friend, so I know when it's the third one. So I think it was in the first game that it was the third one, and I couldn't have done anything without it, so...
That's a pretty interesting way of analysing how many quantity of cards to play. If you make the third or the extra one a different language, so you know how often it comes up. I like that.
I do that in testing.
There's a little top tip for you viewers at home. If you're trying to work out if extra copies of cards are worth it, make that extra copy a different language. One nest ball. How has it found that? Because I think nest ball in theory sounds great from you, right? Get out your Genesects, your Mews. But then when your bench is full, it becomes an unplayable, which is categorically the worst kind of card you can have on Mew. So how did you come to having just one?
Yeah, I just swapped it for the Featherball. I felt it was like... It was better more of the time. Like, there are situations where you want the nest ball, where you want the turn 1 Genesect, and you're looking at 2 Mews and a Featherball on turn 1. You don't want to see that. But most of the time, you can just get the Mew. It's just as good. And then later on, you need to find a VMAX. You need to just thin your hand. The Featherball is way better.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Featherball, finding that Mew VMAX, taking the pressure off your Ultra Balls. So looking back at that top 8 game, we saw that you went for a triple Genesect and then 3 Mew Vs in play, I should say. Yep. Is that the optimal game plan that you've worked out?
I don't know. It just feels good. And I think in a couple of the games I had prized some basics as well, so I didn't have a choice. But I feel like most of the time you want to have the 3 Mew, just because you don't know how the game's going to go if you're going to want to do a Psychic Leap play. And if you have only 1 Mew, then you can't do that.
Yeah, if you only have, 1 Mew V in play and you Psychic Leap, you're very vulnerable there to like a boss's orders or
and
anything
also the fourth Genesect, there's kind of like diminishing returns to that. There's often times when you like draw your paths and your stuff, and then the last one will be drawing like 1 card. And it's like, not that good anymore.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure everyone will be rooting for you moving forward. I absolutely adore that you've got your invite first of all, so everything else is a bonus. Consta, we're cheering for you. I think we're going to have a quick break now, a little intermission, and then top 4 will be starting really soon.